Hey guys, welcome back. Pancho here. As I promised, today we're going to be talking about my leopard geckos. So let's get started. As I promised you guys, I was going to introduce you to all my animals. And today we're going to talk about my leopard geckos. So leopard geckos, you can find leopard geckos in the wild in some areas in Asia, Afghanistan and India. They're somewhat of a desert animal. This is my female Stella. She is a Mac Snow. Leopard geckos are polymorphic. You will find different colors and patterns. So, my female, this female is from the morph of the Mac Snow. Some of these, her colors are kind of dull because she's going to be shedding. But all these areas that look kind of like white or grayish, they're actually purple. And she, here on the tail, those little gray areas are actually purple. They turn purple. The morph of the Mac Snow come from John and Amy Mack from Reptiles by Mack. They were the ones that found the recessive gene in order to create this morph, and then I guess at one point they had some babies and they bring them to each other and realized that actually was a trade. She's about 4 years old now. And she has been bred, and I'm going to show you the offsprings and some of the babies. I do actually have a couple of babies right now that I can show you guys. They're really sweet, really tame, really easy to take care of. One of the reptiles that I will suggest if somebody is wanting to get into exotics or little reptiles. You will need to control some heat gradient. Roughly, normally it's around 87 up to the 90 degrees on the hot side, and then you're gonna have a cold side that is gonna be ranging between 70 to 75 degrees, so they can move around depending on if they get really hot, so they can have areas where they can move around. Logically, you need to have fresh water. These guys, all my geckos eat only mealworms. That's what I feed them, and I will show you guys later my farm, where I farm my own worms. Since I have more than one, it's kind of practical do it that way. Leopard geckos are one of the few reptiles that actually have functional eyelids. They can actually close their eyelids, which is really interesting. Really nice animals. I will put her back so she can go back to her humid hide and see if she can get rid of that skin that she's shedding. And then I'm gonna bring my male out, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth of this species and what's going on with them. Okay, so here is Alexter. He is a normal leopard gecko. As you can see, he doesn't have purples like Stella does. He has a lot of yellows, a lot of black. He is a normal morph of leopard gecko. He's kind of active right now. These guys are nocturnal, and I'm filming this at night, so he's kind of like, gonna run everywhere. I'll show you the babies and all the other siblings. They came from Alexter and Stella. This guy also, as a Stella, is 3 years old. Their diets, they change a little bit. Mine, as I said, they only eat mealworms once in a while. I get them a couple of little roaches, dubia roaches, so they can have a different source of protein. But that's mainly, they can eat roaches, crickets, mealworms, superworms. There's quite a few options for them. Leopard geckos have a thing that they do, where when a predator attacks them or grabs them, they have a way that they can release this part of the tail, let the tail out, so they can escape and survive. It's kind of interesting, and it's one of the reasons why you don't want to grab them when you're handling them. You don't want to handle them through the tail, just to avoid that tail from falling off. They're really, really, really cool animals. We acquired him as a baby. He was probably 4 weeks old, 5 weeks old. And it's really interesting because the more that you handle them, the more that they get used to you. Easy to take care of, really pleasant to work with. When it comes to their breeding cycles, is really interesting because these guys, when you're incubating, you can, depending on the temperature that you're working with, there's the sex of the animal can be determined depending on that incubation temperature. And that thing that from the breeding standpoint, that is super cool. Just being able to, in a way, to select what are you gonna get. Again, I wish Stella was out of her shed and you could see, but I'm gonna update you guys later on after she finished her cycle of shedding. So I'm gonna go and grab some of these two babies, including an albino. Leopard geckos are really vocal. They actually scream when they get scared or when they're not comfortable. They actually make a really squeaky noise. So I'm gonna go and put him back, and I'm gonna grab Estella and Alexter's son, which is an albino, and I'm gonna explain a little bit about how the albinism trait work on these guys. All right, so here's Apollo, the Max No albino. So the funny story behind this guy is that with leopard geckos, in order to have albinos, mom and dad must have the gene of albinism. Make it even more complicated. There is 3 different types of albino leopard geckos. We got the temporal albino, the rainwater albino, and the bell albino. These guys, I think that they have the bell albino. Either of those 3 albino genes are not compatible with each other. So if Estella would have temporal albino and Alexa would have bell albino, none of the offsprings will come out with the albino trait. They need to be both the same type of albino gene or trait in order to create an albino. They lay 2 eggs at a time. Stella, since it was the first year that she was being bred, she put 1 egg in 1 clutch and another egg on a second clutch, and that was all she put for that year breeding season. And what is my surprise that the 2 animals that came out were albino, but they were albino with the Max No that Stella has. So it's mixed. It's the albino trait with the Max No trait in it. And Apollo is one of those babies. Unfortunately, there was a female that was born on the second egg, and unfortunately she had some issues with infection, and she passed. That being said, here's Apollo. So I don't know if we can see. I'm gonna put Apollo away, and I'm gonna bring one of his younger brother. So I'll be back. Here we are. Alright, so he's gonna get a run for my money. He's gonna go everywhere. This guy is one just like Stella. So as you can see how it had the many damaged purples, lavenders. So this is how Stella normally looks if she's not shedding. So here's my Max No male. Apollo has been bred, and the babies that I'm going to bring out in a second are Apollo's kids. Pretty cool, huh? I don't know if you can hear. He's about to start screaming in a second. So I'm going to show you a little bit of how their enclosures look like, how they look as babies. This is full grown. They're not going to grow more than that, which makes it easier for people that are starting with the reptiles, since you don't need like a humongous enclosure. So I'm going to bring the babies out so you guys can see them and see how they work. So I'm going to put them back, and I'm going to bring the babies. Here we are. This is one of the babies. tiny. So cool. I like to wash my hands when I touch the different animals and just keep my hands clean. So, this is how an albino Max Snow looks when they're babies. Their color pattern kind of changes a little bit when they grow, and so you can see how tiny the things are. This one is Apollos and a Stella. And yes, I know it sounds weird that you have, how you're gonna have the son breathing with the mom. It's fine. There's not a problem. They don't have any issues with like having deformations or anything like that. That's not how it works with reptiles. But that's a video that we're gonna talk in depth later. Here's the guy. This is a female baby Max Snow albino. I'm gonna bring the other baby that we kept so you guys can see. Alright, so here's the last one. This is the last baby, another female. This one is a normal leopard gecko with the gene of a Max Snow. She has albino gene in it, so that's my little gecko. I'm gonna show you guys in a minute. This guy's just going crazy. I'm gonna show you in a minute like the enclosures and give you an overview. Possibly see if I can feed the baby so you guys can see them eat a little bit. And that way you can, where all my geckos are. That is so cool. Alright, so my little babies, I keep them on these plastic shoe boxes with a little hide, their food, water. And in order to manage the temperature, there's a thermostat that stores heat cable. There's a thermostat there. So this heat cable provide me enough temperature on the warmer side, and it kind of balances towards the other side. Same with the other baby. Same thing. Now you gotta remember, I live in California, so temperatures don't really drop that crazy here. So that kind of work in my advantage, so I can keep them that way. Seems I only have 2 babies at the moment. That setup is more than enough. So now let's go and check on the regular setup for the bigger geckos. I have these setups like this, where we have a hot side, which is this side right here with a hide. Even that they're desert animals, they need to have a certain amount of humidity on their enclosures. So on that heat, there is right there is some coconut husk inside that I spray, and it keeps me with a certain amount of humidity. Then we have water, food dish, and a cold side hide. A little rock there that they can climb. One of the things for us to talk, and I told you guys that I was going to show you, was my worm farm. So it's literally one of those organizers, and I have the pupa stage, we got the larva, and then I have the beetles. So in the way that this works is you have your beetles, which their substrate there is actually oats, full oats, and as a water source carrots. So you got your beetles. The beetles will mate inside of this container, and under here there is a mesh screen. So what happens is when they breed in there, they lay their eggs, or even if the eggs hatches inside of this little bin, they will soon enough fall to the larva. And in the larva, I don't know if we're gonna be able to see this. There's a little baby worms in there. No, they don't. Here's what happens. Once those worms and babies, they will turn into a pupa, which is this right here. That's the pupa of the actual mealworm. These pupas turn into beetles, and then when they turn into beetles, Marilyn, come here, buddy. When they turn into beetles, they go to your beetle bin colony, and the cycle starts all over again. There you go, guys. Those are my geckos. If you guys have any questions, please hit me up in the comments. Don't forget to match that. Thank you for coming back and checking out the videos. Thank you for the support. Pancho out.